Welcome to episode 31, Responsible and Explainable AI, where we explore why responsibility in artificial intelligence is not optional but fundamental. AI systems influence hiring, lending, healthcare, and countless daily decisions, meaning their impact extends far beyond algorithms. Responsibility ensures these systems enhance human welfare rather than erode it. It combines fairness, privacy, explainability, and oversight into a shared framework of accountability. When done right, responsibility becomes a design principle, not a compliance checkbox. It shapes how models are trained, deployed, and maintained, guaranteeing that decisions are transparent, equitable, and safe. The promise of AI depends on trust, and trust is built only when organizations can explain how outcomes arise, prevent harm before it happens, and take ownership when things go wrong. Bias can emerge from three major sources: data, labels, and features. Data bias occurs when collected samples fail to represent the real world. Perhaps one group's behavior dominates the training set. Label bias arises when outcomes reflect human subjectivity, such as ratings influenced by cultural norms. Feature bias stems from variables that inadvertently encode sensitive attributes, like using postal code as a proxy for income or ethnicity. Recognizing these layers of bias is crucial for prevention. For example, an image model trained mostly on daylight photos may underperform at night, or a hiring model may inherit historical gender imbalances. The practical approach is to trace lineage: who collected the data, how it was labeled, and what features carry hidden meaning. Bias detection begins with curiosity and humility, asking where blind spots might lie. Explainability bridges technical complexity and human understanding. Global explainability describes how a model behaves overall, its main drivers and logic, while local explainability clarifies why it produced a specific result for one instance. Together, they make outcomes transparent and debuggable. Tools such as feature importance plots, Shapley values, and counterfactual examples help illustrate reasoning in language that non-specialists can grasp. For instance, explaining that payment history contributed 60% to the credit score decision helps users and auditors alike. A misconception is that black box models are inherently unexplainable. Often, surrogate models or post hoc methods reveal sufficient structure. The goal is clarity, not exposure of proprietary details. Explainability transforms skepticism into confidence by making AI decisions traceable and comprehensible. Model cards and decision documentation extend explainability into structured accountability. A model card summarizes purpose, training data, metrics, and known limitations. Decision logs record when models are updated, what changed, and who approved the release. These artifacts act like product labels, giving downstream teams the context to use models responsibly. For example, a model card for an image classifier might list dataset sources, accuracy by demographic, and cautionary notes about edge cases. The misconception is that documentation is bureaucratic overhead. In truth, it shortens investigations, speeds audits, and improves collaboration. When documentation becomes routine, organizations can scale AI safely, knowing that every model carries its story and evidence of due diligence. Human oversight ensures that automation never becomes autonomy without accountability. Oversight defines when humans intervene, escalate, or override AI decisions. This is essential in domains like healthcare or finance, where consequences are personal and irreversible. For instance, a loan recommendation might require human confirmation for borderline scores, ensuring empathy and context. Escalation paths must be clear: who reviews contested outcomes, how feedback updates the system, and when to suspend model use. The misconception is that automation replaces human judgment. In reality, oversight complements it, preserving moral and operational responsibility. Responsible AI keeps a human in the loop not as decoration, but as the final safeguard of fairness and trust. Evaluating AI beyond accuracy means measuring the full impact of its decisions. Accuracy captures technical performance, but it does not reveal whether outcomes are beneficial, equitable, or sustainable. Broader metrics include false positive and false negative costs, fairness indices, and user satisfaction. For example, a content moderation model with high accuracy but uneven enforcement across languages may still cause harm. Evaluation should also consider efficiency, energy consumption, and alignment with business goals. The misconception is that performance metrics are neutral. They reflect priorities and values. Defining holistic evaluation criteria turns success from a number into a narrative, one that reflects human outcomes, not just algorithmic precision. Monitoring drift, abuse, and anomalies keeps systems healthy after deployment. Drift occurs when input data or user behavior shifts, reducing model accuracy. Abuse arises when users exploit models in unintended ways, such as gaming recommendations. Anomalies may signal data corruption or attacks. Continuous monitoring detects these issues early through dashboards, alerts, and periodic audits. For instance, an e-commerce recommender might show unusual spikes in click rates from one region, hinting at manipulation. The misconception is that monitoring is optional once a model passes validation. In truth, real-world environments change constantly. Ongoing vigilance ensures that AI continues to behave as designed and that issues trigger prompt investigation and remediation. Governance unifies policies, roles, and audits under a common framework. It defines who is responsible for ethical review, model approval, and issue escalation. Governance structures mirror those in finance or safety engineering. Clear accountability lines prevent diffusion of responsibility. For example, an ethics board may review high-impact models quarterly, while operational teams maintain change logs and risk registers. Governance also establishes training requirements and retention schedules for evidence. The misconception is that governance slows innovation. Well-designed frameworks actually accelerate it by providing guardrails that make risk manageable. When teams know the boundaries and expectations, creativity thrives within safe, trusted limits. Regulatory expectations and attestations formalize responsible AI into law and policy. Emerging regulations require transparency, data protection, and risk classification, with penalties for negligence. Attestations, signed statements verifying compliance, demonstrate due care to auditors and customers. For instance, an organization might certify that its hiring algorithms undergo annual bias assessments and that affected individuals can appeal results. The misconception is that compliance is purely legal. In fact, it is a competitive advantage. Demonstrating adherence to ethical and regulatory standards builds reputation and invites collaboration. Attestations prove not just technical capability, but corporate integrity, signaling maturity in an era where trust determines adoption. Communication completes responsibility by sharing clear limits and disclaimers. Every AI system has boundaries, conditions where accuracy drops, context changes, or data quality erodes. Communicating these limits prevents misuse and protects users. For example, a weather prediction model might specify that forecasts beyond 10 days carry low confidence. Disclaimers must be visible, plain, and consistent, not buried in technical documents. The misconception is that disclaimers weaken credibility. In practice, they strengthen it by demonstrating honesty. Responsible communication aligns expectations with reality, reinforcing that AI augments human expertise but does not replace it. Transparency builds patience, trust, and informed engagement from both internal users and the public. Trustworthy AI at scale is built through consistent ethics, governance, and transparency. It requires teams to design for fairness, safeguard privacy, document intent, and explain results without ambiguity. Responsibility is not a constraint but an enabler. It unlocks adoption by reducing fear and uncertainty. Explainability ensures decisions remain visible. Governance ensures they remain accountable. Together, they create a cycle of trust. Users rely on systems they understand, and organizations refine systems based on responsible feedback. When responsibility becomes habit, AI can scale confidently across industries, improving outcomes while preserving the dignity, safety, and rights of the people it serves. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.